Hello and welcome to today's discussion with Dr. Sanjeev Dixit, hosted by I Want to Work. I Want to Work is a job platform with only genuine jobs. Job seekers can download the app from Android and iOS App Store, and employers can register on the web, that is www.iwanttowork.com. Today, we're going to speak about the current market situation in the region, a question that everyone is asking. Are jobs returning? How can one take charge of their career during these times? Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that response to the COVID outbreak and its impact is evolving across the world on a daily basis. In these unsettling times, we wish that you and your family, along with friends, colleagues, business partners, are keeping well and safe. Today, we have with us a global HR leader, Ideapreneur, Dr. Sanjeev Dixit. He has more than 22 years of experience in strategic corporate HR across geographies and industries. He's a globally accredited trainer in directive communication psychology and a culture consultant. A speaker, a thinker, he has been recognized as one of the top 100 HR minds in the region. He is also the author of the much acclaimed book Plan C, which talks about value and culture alignment for business transformation. Over to Sanjeev. Sanjeev, thank you for being with us today. I would start.
Thank you for having me, Ankita.
You're welcome, Sanjeev. We'd like to start by asking you the first question. So, UAE has opened up along with many other countries. How do you see business reviving?
I think what I see, and I can give you my organization context. I think there is a sense of positivity in terms of one, how we can convert the challenge into opportunity. So, for example, we have been in the personal care and herbal health and wellness space. While this entire pandemic happened, we also started focusing on the personal hygiene space. So, in terms of the hand sanitizers and all the personal hygiene products, I think we are trying to now put a lot of efforts on. So what I'm saying is that most of the organization would be looking at this particular challenge as an opportunity, one, to focus on their strengths and try to be resilient and quickly start getting on their feet. So my sense is always positive. I'm a very optimistic guy. So I believe that the opening up of the economy and the way there has been a good control in this part of the region on the spread, I see that things will even if it take little longer time, but it will get back to normal sooner than later.
That's a very good example that you gave how citing example from your own company, how it is adapting to the changing times.
Yes,
I would
yes.
also say that we also noticed and we know that many companies underwent a kind of correction during this time. In the process, a lot of people were affected. So, what would you suggest for those people who got redundant or who were affected through this correction?
No, I think that's a very unfortunate development. But then things are not within the control of either the organization or the employees, for that matter, because this is a very unprecedented and uncertain kind of a scenario. Only key in this scenario to come out as a winner is have that, as I said, positivity, have the trust on their own strength, keep on reading all the what you call relevant what you call literature related to your own functional areas, remain updated, because moment the tide change, there would be again opportunity which will start trickling in, and that time you should be one of the I will say a guy who becomes sought after in terms of the way you can say updated yourself in these what you call lean period, and how you kind of remain what you call positively inclined in terms of your own self development. So I think that's very, very important for people to uh, convert the entire adversary into an opportunity. While it easier said than done, uh, I can talk about it in a very philosophical manner. But people who are going through this definitely understand the entire pain and financial impact and suffering. But then the only choice we have with us is what we can do with which is within our control. Yeah, rather than absolutely getting into this entire thought process of victimhood or why me and why happened to me and all those kind of I will say very, very unproductive and negative questions. And that is what I say, that you look at what are your strengths, what are the positive disposition you can sharpen, how you can learn, how you can unlearn, and I think that will always keep you in a good stead in terms of getting rehired again.
That's most important, like you rightly said, staying positive. Also, on our platform, we see people at all career levels coming. We see a whole influx of people coming onto the job platform now, which means more and more people are looking for jobs, and they are at every career level, from 2 years of experience to 10 years of experience to more. So how do you think it is different for people at more senior corporate senior levels than people who are at entry level, or all these operational stuff? How is it different? How the situation is different for them?
So the point I am making is that one need to be one flexible. Two, we need to also, as I said, move out of our comfort zone. Three, we need to, uh, even if I'm saying more than the what you call same level, same salary role, I think the important thing is the continuity. So even if you are getting an opportunity where there is some kind of a dip in your compensation, which can definitely what you call make up in the long run. The idea is that their gap period is not longer. So even if you're getting a role or a profile where you can add value, even if at a one level down, no harm. The idea is to have a continuity. Number one. At the junior most level, I think you have much more flexibility to uh, choose opportunity from, because you are not either conditioned by your uh, long tenure of a particular specialty, or you are not also got into the comfort zone that okay, I can do this only or I can't do this only. So I think at a junior level the flexibility is very, very high. I think the challenge always lies in the middle and the senior level profiles to get adapted and become more, I will say, relevant to the opportunities available. The idea should be that am I open enough to explore opportunities which is beyond my comfort zone. I think that will increase your chances of getting a break sooner than later. And the situation will change. It will not remain like this.
Right. So the another question was, we also realize that there are other people who are fortunately not affected by these corrections, but even then feel too pressured, too tensed with the amount of uncertainties. And what would you suggest them? How can they manage their anxieties?
I think there is no, as I said, short solution for managing anxiety, because it's very, very unique and relative. Now, the anxiety can only be managed if you, one, um, try to challenge your fear. Okay, fear of insecurity, or fear of losing your job, or fear of anything for that matter in the current scenario. And number two, you not only challenge your fear but also overcome your fear.
Mm-hmm.
And how you can do that is, again, looking inward rather than looking outward. The anxiety comes when we start looking outward and start comparing. Oh, how he's doing, how my what you call peer is doing, how my neighbor is doing, how my
Mhm.
other what you call fraternity or colleagues are doing.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think that's where the anxiety comes over. Okay, somebody has lost job, so I would be the next kind of feeling comes. So as I said, when I start inward looking, then I start looking at okay, uh, in the current scenario, I'm working from home or I'm working from remote areas using technology. Now, if I have some additional time because of this, because I'm not traveling now to office, I'm not traveling to my workplace, I'm reducing that kind of commutation time.
Mhm.
Where I'm investing that time,
Right.
that's the point. Okay. Now, if you investing your that time in just thinking and only getting uh, anxious about it, that's the one way to use that time. Okay. And I believe in the current scenario, people have time to invest on their self growth, on their self development, or what I also propose in my book, Plan C, how you can enhance your personal value. And there is a formula which I have suggested.
Mhm.
The formula for enhancing your personal value is experience multiply by exposure, multiply by strength, multiply by your values.
Mhm.
If you use this formula and you keep regularly reviewing this particular formula, your personal value or your professional value keep increasing. So, for
Mhm.
example, your experience is time bound. Okay, so after 1 year, it becomes two, three, four, like that. So, the only element in this formula, experience, is which is time bound. Rest all the other variables or elements are within your control. Now,
Mhm.
exposure is how many new skills, new knowledge, new initiative, new ideas I have learned or acquired over the 1 year time. That
Mhm.
is my amount of exposure. As I said, strength is your natural talent. For example, if I somebody asks me what is your strength, I will say creativity, innovation is my strength. Now comes the values. Now values is your non-negotiable principle. You
Mhm.
don't negotiate on those.
Mhm.
So if you put all your these in a very honest manner, the scores of experience, exposure, strength, and value, and multiply them,
Mhm.
that will give you a score of your personal and professional value. Now, if you keep increasing your exposure, if you keep increasing the number of strength you are using in your personal and professional life, if you keep increasing the number of values you are what you call using and leveraging in your day-to-day personal and professional life,
Mhm.
automatically your PV start moving up, your personal value and professional value score moving up. And more this score move up, more is the what you call chances of your success.
So that's what individuals can do. But coming to companies, what do you think they can do? And if you can think of an example, a company which has been managing this disruptive situation well.
I can quote my company, Himalaya. Now, in the last 3 months, how we have invested on people.
Mhm.
Now, the number one was having a very clear-cut guidelines and norms of how we can utilize the work from home scenario productively.
Mhm.
So, in terms of discipline of uh, timing on the MS team, having those meetings very productively without wasting on other issues, very focused meetings happening on the technology MS teams. Everybody is clear in terms of what they're supposed to do. That clarity comes from their entire understanding of their role and their KPIs and their KRAs, and
Mhm.
how it is affecting other person's KPIs and KRAs. So there is a lot of synergy, lot of alignment happening there. Okay, we invested significant amount in terms of the need based but empowered learning by providing platform of Coursera and Udemy to all the employees with $100 budget. So in $100, whichever program you feel is going to impact your role functionally or professionally, choose those certification choose those functional program, choose those simulation led program,
Mhm.
and do it. And then they also keep sharing about their experiences and certification, which also got communicated to all the employees, which further inspired and aspired people to
Mhm.
uh, do in the maximum level. Okay, and as a leader also we did these programs, and we saw huge value coming from these programs. So again, investing the current time on uh, personal and professional development
Mhm.
is very very good way to positively remain what you call oriented. Also on the engagement piece, we initiated a lot of employee engagement initiatives by which we remain connected on the technology,
Mhm.
whether it is in the form of health and wellness webinars, whether it is in the form of mental wellness seminar, because as you mentioned, a lot of anxiety, a lot of because of the social distancing, a lot of I will say the entire social need is not getting addressed. So how you remain connected through technology and at least remain alive and agile to all the team members.
Mhm.
Having webinars on various you can say uh, uh, mindfulness, yogas. Yeah,
Mhm.
so I think we what we try to do in this 3 4 months is working as usual, except the fact it is through technology.
Mhm.
But there was no such sense that we have not spoken to somebody for ages now, and we are not connected. We are having we started having all these every Thursday evening quizzes where
Okay.
there was a huge amount of engagement. Where so there were a lot of, as I said, fun linked as well as very meaningful, purposeful initiatives on the engagement, on the development, on the, as I said, improving your work-life balance, because you are working from home, so you can be more productive, spending more time with your family.
Mhm.
So I think this is the one way. If I have to give you a very live and hands-on example in our organization, we had a, I will say, relatively better performance all across these 3 months. We
Okay.
didn't dip significantly.
Mhm.
Whatever is dip is because of the external environment, but internally I think we maintain the same kind of a rigor, passion, enthusiasm, uh, uh, innovation, ideation.
Mhm.
As I said, we immediately move into the entire personal hygiene space
Mhm.
with one of the fastest turnaround on the NPD of hand sanitizer.
Mhm.
So because we saw that opportunity coming, and how we can immediately provide to our consumer this proposition. No, this is all about the team effort. This is all about the clarity of what we are supposed to do in this kind of a scenario. Because tough situation, you have to do start taking tough measures in terms of improving your productivity.
Mhm.
That's the real live example I'm quoting from my own company, Himalaya.
Mhm.
So that also talk about how you created that kind of a ecosystem where every team member is feeling passionate, committed.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that is what I call Plan C culture, the culture. What kind of culture you have created over the period? What kind of behaviors which got encouraged? What kind of what you call role modeling of what you call values by the leaders? So these are all, I will say, pillars and attributes of a culture where uh, each and every employee feel passionate and committed, and they start contributing.
True, and I think it speaks very highly of a company's culture, a company that is investing on their employees' personal and professional
Yes.
development at this point in time when most companies are very cost conscious.
No, cost consciousness is important with the what you call the kind of immediate challenge. But I think the idea is ROI. I think even if you're spending say $100 per employee on the personal development, is it going to help them in terms of getting relevant inputs? Whether that relevant inputs they're able to apply in their immediate work, whether that application of those inputs is impacting them to do their job better, or they have got a much more what you call wider perspective in doing their things impact effectively. I think that's the key. So it's not about spending huge money; it's about spending money with a focus on ROI.
Right. So moving on, coming to the point, so are jobs returning? Do you see jobs?
I don't see any reason why there is no upswing which will happen in terms of the economy slowly getting back on track. I think the organization, the people will be now much more circumspect
Mm-hmm.
in terms of uh, how many talent need to be hired, what is the optimum number of talent to be hired,
Mm-hmm.
what is the number which will give them uh, better and larger ROI. I think there is a shift which is going to happen because of this entire experience of pandemic in a manner that everybody got reality check in terms of the readiness to manage such kind of uncertain and unprecedented time. In terms of the readiness of uh, being very balanced in terms of responding to such situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think at times most of the organization get into that knee jerk reaction in terms of okay, when the timing is good, you keep what you call hiring and become fat, and then when there is some kind of a such challenge comes, you then start shedding fat. So now both are drastic in my view. I
Mm-hmm.
think you need to be balanced in a good time also, and you need to be balanced in a bad time as well. I think that's more, I will say pragmatic uh, positivity, I call it. You need to be positive, but you cannot go overboard on the positivity. So you need to remain very pragmatic in terms of how you're going to plan your growth, how you're going to be planning the resources for the growth, and
Mm-hmm.
how you're going to create a ecosystem which ensures that your human capital gives you maximum ROI in productivity by remain passionate and committed.
Right. So we at I Want to Work already see about 40% of jobs, how it was before the pandemic. We have seen jobs coming back in the last few
Excellent.
weeks, and the numbers are quite positive. It's about 40%, and I would say the positions that we have are in in logistics, in e-commerce, in construction, and even and in teaching as well, along with healthcare.
Super.
Of course, there's a huge demand for nurses and healthcare staff. So these are the kind of roles that we see on our platform. But any particular role or industry that you would like to highlight?
The food industry, in our industry, which is healthcare and what you call mostly the FMCG or personal care side, uh, we were remain stable. So I think we hired in this period. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that we didn't hire. We fulfill all our older commitments, which were offers we have given. We what you call inducted them, even if they are remote.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was in India, somebody was here. We tried to kind of accommodate and use the technology to induct them. So, what I'm saying is, with this things slowly getting into the better shape, as depending upon the fundamentals of the economy, the revival will be sooner than later.
So as priorities change for companies, how do you think, what are some of the top priorities for HR recruiters or employers?
I think as I said, because of this entire reality check of not going overboard, and in our case, the shift which will happen now would be more on number one, the the very multi-skilled and a multitask kind of a profile.
Mm-hmm.
I think the days will now slowly go over, will go over in terms of hiring specialists. I think the focus will shift definitely towards people who can bring value add across the what you call end-to-end aspect of the role. If I have to give you an example, so it's not about okay, there will be one person for only looking at brand inside, or somebody is looking only on the brand operation side, or
Mhm.
somebody is only looking at the entire analysis side.
Mhm.
You will have a combination of all in one role now,
Yeah.
which is we have been practicing for a while. But I think otherwise also this shift will be visible in
Mhm.
terms of how we can club the roles to get maximum benefit and, as I said, ROI from the very loaded role rather than very super specialized and very uh,
Mhm.
siloed and very verticalized roles. So I think that would be one shift. The second shift also would again be on the more from a culture perspective, that
Mhm.
how the hiring is going to add value to my existing culture.
Mhm.
Okay. Earlier, it was more from a very, I will say, fitment and matching point of view. That okay, whether the culture or the values of the person whom I am hiring does it match my culture?
Right.
So that was the earlier focus. Now the focus will be: is the new hire is going to add significant value to my existing culture in terms of making it much more high performance, making it much more enriched from the kind of behavior I'm looking at to drive the high performance. Uh, in terms of what kind of learning he will bring in terms of creating a much more agile and learning oriented culture. Whether this person will come and challenge the status quo
Mhm.
in my organization, and because of that challenging the status quo, there will be incremental improvement happening in the work he doing, or in the work which his team is doing. So I think this will be the now new perspectives which will be much more emphasized vis-a-vis just doing okay, job description matching and skill matching and looking at compensation and all those very, as I said, tick box activity approach. So I think that shift will happen more towards enriching the culture and enriching the business perspective.
So, is there any disconnect between, these expectations of the employers and the preparedness of the job seekers? I mean, how do they show they can multitask? How can they show their resilience? How do they do that?
No, I think there is a gap. There is a significant gap, and I think there is a high time. I will say that there has to be a very structured way to bridge this gap. And how to bridge this gap is to one, having more of such sessions where there is a kind of a very practical and experience based tips being given to the people who are seeking jobs through platform like I Want to Work.
Mhm.
And I think more facilitation from your side on the uh, career counseling or career coaching
Mhm.
or career insights or uh, skills which are more career oriented than skills which are not so career oriented. I think all these what you call insight facilitator from your forum will give all the job seekers across the board very practical inputs and insight to work upon.
Right. Actually, responding to these, the need of the time, we have actually added a lot of career services for our seekers, and they can always reach out to us. You can write to ask me at iwanttowork.com, and like Sanjeev already mentioned, his email ID as well, or you can directly get in touch with Sanjeev also. end, I would like to just thank you for your time, for sharing all these invaluable insights, or sharing what is happening within your company. I think that gives us a lot of optimism and confidence, for the days to come.
Thank you so much, Ankita, for having me. And as always, pleasure to connect with you and your platform. I want to work. It's a fabulous platform to the job seeker and the employer.
Thank you so much. Thank you for watching us. Thank you.
Thank
Just one app, you don't need to pay. Get a job.